How do you mean, sir?
Well, was there any change in the routine, the order of things?
Only as regards the circulation pump, sir?
The circulating pump?
Yes, sir, this way. Yes, this pump went wrong. We had a chap working on it till all hours. Still, that couldn't have had anything to do with Bagley, sir. Well, not unless...
Unless?
Well, it did occur to me, sir, that perhaps something happened and he shouted. Well, nobody would have heard him, sir, not with the pump going and the door open. You just listen for yourself, sir.
My dear Paul, I don't quite understand what it is you're trying to say to me. Now, thank you, waiter. Just because the poor devil attempted to commit suicide doesn't mean he's now insane in any legal sense of the word. Now, how do you take it?
Oh, black.
Are you suggesting that I should drop charges? Or something equally as preposterous?
I'm not asking you to do anything but see our position, Alec. Our case gets stronger every day.
Oh, come now.
Well, Lieutenant Stacy now. There was another brick in the edifice?
Oh, Stacy.
Well?
Haunted quality indeed. Really, what's that sort of rubbish to do with evidence of insanity? You know as well as I do what Stacy was trying to do.
What?
Well, he'd obviously decided that the more guilty Bagley looked, the worse HM forces had come out of it. So he angled his testimony accordingly.
You don't believe he did notice anything strange about Bagley, then?
Oh, there may have been some tiny thing. But for heaven's sake, what's it prove?
What about the Korean business? You going to use that or not?
What do you think?
Well, something that happened 10 years ago. No, it wouldn't stand up. You'll be playing right into our hands.
And don't ask damn silly questions, Paul. There isn't any real evidence that Bagley was brainwashed during that period of internment. You see, I don't allow that your man is mad in the smallest particular, Paul. I think he knew the nature and quality of his act, and that it was wrong. You're going to have something pretty substantial up your sleeve if you're really to convince me otherwise.
Well, you know, that's just what we might have. Something up our sleeves. Oh, nothing but Robert's substantial arm, of course.
Oh, of course. Yes, Mr. Sullivan. I conducted the standard tests on the accused, Private Bagley, and as a result came to the conclusion that he is colorblind.
Colorblind, Doctor. Thank you. Before we go any further, what in practice does that mean?
Well, principally, that a person suffering from this defect would have difficulty in distinguishing between the colors red and green. If, for example, an object containing a red pigment were placed before him, he could well be confused by a sudden seeming absence of color. The classic example is of a man standing in a field of growing wheat, unable to see the poppy.
And a man standing at a military checkpoint required to distinguish between a red identity card and that of any other color.
Yes, he might well experience a similar difficulty.
Might. Could you be more precise, Doctor?
I beg your pardon.
Well, Bagley had been employed as a security guard for some months. Doesn't it strike you as odd that his deficiency in relation to color had never revealed itself before?
Color blindness is not always a total disability. A man might be able to distinguish between colors more or less normally in normal conditions. But if he were tired, distressed, disturbed, under a strain...
One moment, Mr. Scarborough. Captain Mencken, when you made your tests, did you examine the accused completely or only insofar as his eyesight was concerned?
Only his sight, my lord. But I was present at a previous examination conducted by Dr. McRae, and I have observed the accused closely throughout the period of his arrest.
I see. Then I think, unless you have any fixed objection, Mr. Scarborough, we might admit this testimony. Frankly, I have been concerned that during this case we have not yet had the benefit of the expert medical opinion, which I should have thought the circumstances justified.
If your lordship pleases.
When did you discover that the accused had this tendency to color blindness?
Well, the accused has recently begun to show signs of a kind of compulsive behavior. He kept playing a game in his cell.
A game?
A child's game of Ludo. Something that somehow got sent in with the books and papers from the Forces Compass people.
Ludo, surely that's a game for two or more, isn't it?
Bagley played against himself. He played with immense anxiety, and always the red counters against the green.
Why would he do that?
Well, I take it to be a matter of nagging anxieties and a kind of transference. You see, Bagley might well have felt a color difficulty that night at the gate and been unable to solve it. And this could well have begun the chain of circumstances which led up to this tragedy.
Thank you, Captain Mencken.
Mr. Scarborough?
No questions, my lord.
Thank you, Captain Mencken. You may stand down.
I call the defendant, Private Ernest Bagley.
Take the book in your right hand and read the words on the card.
You must take the oath, you know. It's required. Either that or affirm. You understand? Thank you. Now you have nothing to fear. All we want is your honest answers to the questions your counsel will put to you. Mr. Sullivan.
Now, Bagley, I put you in the witness box because, frankly, there are mysteries in this case which only you can solve for us. Everyone here wants to know what happened from your point of view on the night the general was shot. You haven't only the right to speak in your defense, you know. You've the duty. Duty to the rest of us, lest we make some terrible mistake about you. Were you happy at the base, Bagley? What did you do in your spare time? You liked to play games, didn't you? Games by yourself sometimes? Ludo. You played that. The red against the green.
My lord, I quite appreciate the unusual nature of this examination. On the other hand, I feel I really must protest.
Quite so, Mr. Scarborough. I'm sorry, Mr. Sullivan, but I'm afraid I cannot allow you to continue with this line of questioning.
My lord, in view of my client's extreme reluctance to answer, perhaps he shouldn't be troubled further.
Well, you may stand down, Private Bagley.
Places you playing?
Shh. All right, confound you. Damnation, Bagley, you've been on the carpet with me before, and for the exact same reason. Refusal to open your mouth.
Mr. Sullivan.
Now, jump to attention.
If this doesn't stop immediately...
That's better. Now, let me hear from you, and it better be hot and strong. What's all this nonsense about you shooting down a general?
Sir.
Did you shoot down a general?
Perfectly true, sir.
A general, by heaven, Bagley, that's going to take some explanation. What was up, for pity's sake? Wasn't the fellow's card in order or
No,
something?
sir, card not in order. Called a challenge, sir. Individual refused to stop, sir.
But his card was in order, Bagley. Great Scott, I inspected it myself. Photograph, endorsement, red colour.
No, sir, not red.
Of course it was red.
Beg pardon, sir, but I know red when I see it. It's hard to win when you play red, sir, but I've done it. I've proved I can, sir. I'm not a fool, sir.
No, not a fool, Bagley. Just colourblind?
No, not colourblind, sir.
Trouble with colours, then. Always been the same with you, hasn't it, Bagley? Hard to be sure. One day one thing, one day another.
No trouble with colours, sir. No.
Gets a man frightened. Doesn't so much matter when it's only a children's game in the balance, but when the stakes are a little higher.
No, sir.
How high were the stakes, man? Come on, what have they told you?
Sir?
That night, before they put you out on the West Gate, a briefing, wasn't there?
Yes, sir.
What was it?
No one to enter unless sentry satisfied beyond all doubt passes in order. Don't bother officers. Assume responsibility.
Responsibility?
Yes, sir. You've got to suspect everyone. Even if a general comes to the gate, you've got to act as if he might be a spy, sir.
They said that, did they?
Yes, sir. A trick during the war, sir. Happened time and time again. Enemy soldiers dressing as high-ranking officers getting into emplacement, sir.
You were terrified then lest somebody should get past you and destroy the base.
Yes, sir.
You were frightened that on one of your bad days, you might see the wrong colour on an identity card and let in an enemy agent.
Yes, sir. And I couldn't go and ask to be relieved of duty, sir. That wouldn't be taking responsibility like they told me. And we had to have it, sir. That thing inside the gates. Otherwise there'd be war. And it wouldn't be just the base in Wales destroyed, sir. British Isles, maybe. Half the ruddy world, sir. That thing that they were making. Bigger and better, they told us. The lads called it one for the Day of Judgment. Joke, sir. They could joke about it. I couldn't. God help me, I couldn't. Every time I heard the generators, I thought, they're making that. They're making the bomb to destroy the world. I had to shoot him, sir. It was my duty. He wouldn't wait for the officer. And the standing order said, I had to. Oh, God help us all, I had to.
You know, Stacy, last night when Bagley tried to kill himself, there was a sound just like the blast of generators booming around his prison block. I think it's about time we got around to asking ourselves just what it is goes wrong with otherwise sound men in places like this.
Well, at least the poor devil will be looked after. I suppose he was driven beyond his limit and didn't know what he was doing. What he needs is treatment.
Perhaps we all do.
I say, you wouldn't care for a drink, would you? I know it's too
No,
early.
thanks. I've got to get back to town and say goodbye to the Sullivans. They're leaving on the noon train.
Well, let's hope we won't need their ministrations again. God knows, life here is hectic enough without murder trials and defense lawyers. You know, sometimes I think it's like... Well...
What's the matter?
I don't know, it's the words, really, isn't it? We don't seem to have them in the language anymore. I was going to say, life here is like living on a powder keg. Well, thanks for the lift.